Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. If you're watching this the day that it comes out, Merry Christmas Eve to those who celebrate. If you're watching this the day after it came out, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. I hope your day is filled with joy and cheer and presents, but most importantly, friends, family, and loved ones to spend the time with on this wonderful holiday. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas from me over at Blade Bias to you behind the YouTube screen. I hope it's a great one. I'll see you guys on the 26th for my normal upload schedule, and I'll see you on the 28th for the Bally Awards, which I will segue and shamelessly plug a little bit later. Recently, the ever-amazing human being, the ever-generous man, Ted Flips, sent me a little bit of a Zippy care package, which included 2 new Cycloid LCs and the Parallax from Zippy, which I've recently learned is discontinued, but I'm excited to make a follow-up video on that because it is a genuinely fascinating balisong. Also fascinating to me is innovation in balisongs. I love cool engineering. I love solving a problem in ways that no one else has. And Zippy is the poster child, at least for me, for doing that. Zippy's balisongs are the perfect candidates to receive the Bally Awards Most Innovative Balisong Award. And while I can't spoil who won it this year, if it's not the Cycloid LC, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be a little upset. So if you want to see who does win the Most Innovative Balisong, come check out the Bally Awards Sunday, December 28th at 7 p.m. EST in a live stream on my other YouTube channel, camaroEE. Link is always in the description. So, how did Zippy fare in upgrading one of my personal favorite plastic balisongs, the Zippy Cycloid HD, which is a balisong that I have always revered for its amazing engineering, its clever spacer integration, the convenience with which you can change weights and change balance points, and the overall durability and relatively good flipping performance, all things considered. And Zippy has improved it somehow yet again with the Cycloid LC, which I see as a complete refinement of the formula and some extra fun surprises. The elephant in the room being that you can now attach the Lucha blade to Zippy's Cycloid plastic trainer. That is really cool. That's just really cool. I understand some people are going to be like, oh, but you can put the blade on it because it's the same geometry. But the fact that it makes the Cycloid even more versatile than it already was is such a cool thing to me, because now I have a plastic balisong that I can train on, that I can adjust the spacers with, I can adjust the weights with, I can mess around with different weight distributions, different balance points. And then, to top it all off, when I'm done with the trainer, I can buy a live blade, put it on the handles, and then still theoretically have access to that weight system. We'll talk about why that's theoretical in a little bit. But the fact that you can just stick a live blade onto this is such a cool little addition to me that I never really would have expected. We'll talk about how that flips in just a second, because this is actually more than just me checking out the Cycloid LC. The fact that Ted sent me this means that this is actually my chance to document a little history for the Cycloid LC. Because you'll remember I tried to take the spacers out in the original unboxing video, and I couldn't. And long story short, there is no chance I ever would have gotten that on camera, because this took me so long to get these weights out. I have learned. I was originally very disappointed, because the Cycloid HD was super simple. You just pop the spacer out, you pop it back in. It's loose enough to be easy, but it's tight enough that it doesn't, fly out while you're flipping or fly out when you drop the balisong. So I was a little bit disappointed to see just how difficult this was. Thankfully, Zippy let me know that this is actually a pre-change unit. There was a change that he made I have the change log up. It was in September, where he made the spacers easier to remove from the balisong, which was sorely needed, because this is some of the most force I've ever had to put on a balisong ever. I can't say that I was afraid it was going to break, because this is a Zippy product. These things don't break easily, but it was scary, kind of doing you have to crack it like a wishbone if you want to get the spacer out. So the way that Zippy recommends that you do it is you grab a towel and then you like jiggle the spacer to loosen it up, and then you go and it breaks it open, and then you can pull the spacer out. That process took me multiple days of attempts, multiple attempts, and a lot of sore fingers, even through the towel that I was using. It was just kind of a nightmare. So thankfully that's been changed. It's been addressed. It's not really something I'm going to continue to talk about because, you know, he's already changed it. But when I finally did get the spacers out, I was greeted by something completely unexpected, because I was expecting to see the typical Zippy spacer. You know, you have these slots that you can put in tungsten balls, and in the LC, what I understood is that that would be upgraded to about 11 slots for weights, which is a huge, huge improvement over the, what was it, the 2 balls that you could put in this spacer with the 3 discs. But when I opened up the spacers, I was met with this. This is the original version of this weight system, where he used tungsten cubes instead of the traditional tungsten spheres or tungsten discs. And this is just super cool. I mean, just being able to document this change, which if you're anything like me, you weren't aware that this change was even made in the first place. I was totally expecting to see the typical spheres in here. And this, you can put the typical tungsten balls in a few slots around the weights, but it is mostly these little tungsten cubes. But he has changed that. So now you have more options to put in less weight. Not less weight overall, but each tungsten ball, I believe, weighs less than these tungsten cubes. So you have more customization, regardless of the fact that there's 11 slots now, according to his changelog here. They went from 3 tungsten cubes and 3 tungsten balls to 11 tungsten balls, which is just super cool for customization. But check that out. Little tungsten spheres. Now, Ted, if you're watching this video, I don't know especially why you have one down here and one up here, but if that's something that you care about and you want to change, when I ship it back to you, you can flip them around. I don't think it really matters a ton, but it would affect the balance a little bit if the weight is pushed further out from the handles there. But yeah, these spacers were tough. It's cool to see the difference, though. I'm very, very happy with that. So you can see they kind of come out at an angle here, and then if I just press, they will snap right into place. Super cool. Again, not as easy as the old one, and I imagine even with the upgraded, like, fixed version, it wouldn't be as easy as just beep. But more customization is always a good thing in my book. Now let's talk about what else makes the LC improved from the HD. The Balisong overall feels pretty good. I like the weight distribution here. It doesn't struggle with chaplains as much as I have found previous Zippy Balisongs to struggle with chaplains. In fact, I would say that this is one of the best chaplaining cycloids I have ever felt. And I don't even say that, like, it just is a good chaplain. It's not like an okay chaplain, it just chaplains pretty well. And obviously that's going to differ based on what weights that you have in here. But it doesn't want to fly off, kind of like my HD does. My HD chaplains well, but it is definitely a little bit unstable. But my biggest and most favorite upgrade that Zippy made is the handle geometry, rather expectedly. These more rounded handles make fanning fun, while not butchering the ability to do things on the flat faces like ladders and stuff like that. It's just a really, really good handle geometry. It's my personal preference for handles on Balisongs, and I really like it. But it really comes into play with the live blade, because the live blade is much more focused on weight in the blade, because the blade is all metal rather than just some tungsten balls inside plastic. This thing just wants to fan. Again, this is going to depend on the spacer setup that you have in here. I have not looked at the spacers in here, because the last thing that I want is to lose grip and have my hand slide. You know, I'm going to avoid using the system there, especially if this is also one of the older ones that is harder. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what is in here, but it just wants to fan. That extra blade weight makes this almost as fun to fan as the Corvus, which, if you know how much I like the Corvus fans, that is a huge compliment, a massive compliment. But as I almost drop a Lucha Blade on myself, the fact that the Cycloid has become this, with these awesome new spacers, cool new geometry, it just feels overall more premium than the HD. Like, I pick up the HD after flipping the LC, and it just feels kind of light and hollow and weird. It doesn't actually feel light and hollow and weird because they're made out of the same materials, but it just feels less premium than the LC does. So I think Zippy has done a great job of really modernizing his already fairly modern plastic balisong and adding some fun little features that just are fun. I don't know if this would be something that I would ever like EDC or ever really use because I'm not a huge live blade person, but the fact that it exists, the fact that you can do it is super cool. And I just like how it fans with that blade on there. So, Zippy, you, regardless of the results of the Bally Awards this Sunday, in my heart, you have absolutely won the most innovative balisong of 2025 because this thing is just super cool. I've loved the Cycloid for a while, and this is just the latest, greatest version. I'm excited to see what, if anything, Zippy continues to do with the Cycloid platform because I wouldn't have expected that it had come this far from that little plastic 3D printed thing that I reviewed all those years ago on my main channel. But here we are, and it is genuinely one of my favorite balisong designs ever, just because it is super, super cool. So while I can't exactly give you a look into a modern Cycloid LC, I can give you a look at where it started, and where it started was already pretty cool. So I imagine one that you can get nowadays is even cooler. I would like to give a huge thank you to Ted Flips for sending these out for me to check out in these videos. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Zippy for just continuing to be the GOAT of my personal GOAT of balisong engineering. And I want to thank all of you for watching, especially on your busy Christmas Eve. Go do stuff with your family, man. Thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful holiday, and I will see you in the next one. Later.